Hello, everybody. The DUI guy is back. Happy Halloween. Trying to see through this thing. I'm not used to wearing a hood. Hey, Kim. Good to see you. Thanks for joining, by the way. We will talk about memberships here in a little bit. How's everybody doing today? Happy Saturday. Happy Halloween. There we go. Whoa, Lime crewmate. Welcome, welcome. Good to see you again, brother. Did you vote out Red last time? It's always Red. Everybody knows Red is always the one that's first to go. He's the most sus just because of his color. Zephael, what's up, brother? We got the regulars here now. Welcome, welcome. Richard the Lion. Hey, Tracy. Oh, you're from Versailles. Right on, man. That's not far from us. It's about, 45-minute, 50-minute drive going towards Lexington. Thanks, Richard. Happy Halloween, everyone. We are going to have a fun stream today. We are going to have a fun stream. Hey, Jacob. Am I supposed to be a prosecutor? No, I'm deaf. I didn't have any white makeup, so I couldn't do my face as white. But I think with the ring light and my face being naturally white, it kind of works out. So I've never went to court with makeup on yet. I had the opportunity a couple of years ago and I didn't take it. Silly me, I absolutely should have. Little did I know that we're going to be living in coronavirus times and I'm not going to be able to go to court, period. But today's Saturday, so I didn't get a chance to go to court anyway. And I didn't have court yesterday. I should have done it like on Thursday or something. But I mean, the 29th, wearing makeup on the 29th just doesn't have the same ring to it. Hi, Zelda. Thank you. Zelda says, I love your costume. Totally scary. Thanks. Red is always the most dangerous. You got it, Lime. Hey, Liberty Cause. There he is. Okay, there we go. Now we can get the party started. We got 2 mods in the chat. Liberty Cause, Kim. I'm hoping, Zephael, I'm hoping that most courts will keep remote as the standard. I mean, that's going to save us because we travel all across Kentucky. That's really going to save us a lot of travel time. The goatee, yeah, no, I got rid of the goatee, Tracy. I felt it for about a month and a half, 2 months, and then then it had to go. Hey, Deb. Yeah, so we'll talk about that, Richard, in just a second. I'm waiting for more people to pour in here if they come. I mean, I don't know if they're coming or not. Today's topic is, I think, going to be interesting for people who are interested in history and stuff like that. But I think it's going to be a very interesting day. I guess some people don't find learning about the evolution of law appealing, which is respectable. It is what it is. And that's the main question, Liberty Cause. How does one face their accuser? I mean, you're talking about the confrontation clause, the right to cross-examine witnesses against you. Absolutely. Absolutely. it's very difficult to do so over Zoom. All right, so it looks like we've been getting some more people in here. By the way, guys, don't forget to like this video, comment below, subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell if you haven't already. News, as of about 3 hours ago, just over, we officially have memberships available for people. So you can sign on as a member. There are 2 tiers. There's the law novice tier and then honorary lawyer tier. So each one comes with its own perks. Hey, Megan, see, there you go. This is what it's going to look like. If you're a member, you see Megan Preston. She has like the little badge next to her name because she's a new member and she signed on. And she can use, I currently have 3 emojis. And there will be, I can only have up to 5 at this point. I think I have 2 members or something like that, maybe more by now. I'm not sure. I haven't checked in a while. But they went live just literally just a few hours ago. So I think it's going to be a great fun for people to be able to share, you know, my emojis and have that little, there you go. Those are the 3 emojis that Megan just shared. So you will have access to those, and for some reason it's only showing like 1 on mine, but I'm not sure. This is the one that I can share. The other 2 I just added, so maybe I'm not able to see them, but Megan is. So yeah, if you open up any one of my videos, or if you go on the main channel, just hit that join button. It just says join in blue, and you can choose whichever tier you prefer, and that will give you access to all of these. As more members sign on, I'm going to be able to add more emojis. I'm gonna. It does not count towards free legal representation. This is just for fun. If you like what I do and want to support what I do, it's FIL. So sorry about that, but nice try though. I will give you credit for trying. So like I said, there are. Oh, there we go. See, somebody just joined live on stream. Deb Young, welcome to Law Novice. That's the basic tier, the tier 1. Awesome, awesome. Welcome, Deb. That is so cool. See, I'm getting all these cool new features. So yeah, with your membership, with your membership, you get access to the badge. Of course, there's a new member badge, a 1 month, 2 month, 6 month, 12 month, and 24 month badge. So the longer you are signed up, the more you'll be able to showcase how you've supported my channel throughout. Oh, Zeph, thanks for the $2 dono, brother. The $1.99 will get me a cup of coffee. I'm back to drinking coffee, by the way. I couldn't stay away from it too long. Still not drinking alcohol. Almost at the 2-year mark here pretty soon. Come December, it's going to be 2 years. But coffee is just too good, and it helps me be more efficient as a litigator. So it's kind of hard to give up something that makes you more effective and efficient when it comes to your job. You know, I mean, that's just kind of goes without saying. So yeah. So the 2 tiers, both tiers have the same badges, the same emojis. I may add more emojis maybe to the 2nd tier, but I'm not really. I'm not here to drive people for the 2nd tier. That's just kind of like for funsies. Although the 2nd tier the biggest perk there, of course, is not if you're sign up on the basic tier. So you get access to all those things on both tiers. The only difference is on the 1st tier, you only get access to member-only memes, whereas if you're on the higher tier, the honorary lawyer tier, then you will get access to information about my private life. You'll get sneak peeks of me in action in the courtroom, probably some photos that I will share, but videos will be shared universally. So if you're not a member, don't freak out. You know, I'm not trying to make this a member exclusive channel by any means. Like I said, it's just another perk for you guys to have some fun and have some emojis that you can share while we're chit-chatting here, or when you're commenting on my videos and so on and so forth. So again, it's just for fun. But members may get early access. I think that's pretty much where I'm going to cap it. You'll get early access to new videos when new videos become available. So that's going to be fun there. But for the most part, again, member-only memes on the first tier, emojis, badges, and then on the second tier, emojis, badges, member-only memes, and sneak peeks into new videos and my own personal life as a litigator and as a person. So let's see. I need to follow the chat here. What's going on? Thanks, Zelda. I appreciate it. I charge too little. Well, the kid, you can go for the second tier if you want. It's the $24.99. Where do you sign up? You can't find it. Let's see. Copy link. I think it's on my community page, the line. Let me show you. It's this link right here. Where'd it go? Here it is. This is the link if you want to join as a member. Thanks, Eric. Eric says my videos are great, enjoys them. I do not have an OnlyFans, Zephiel. I don't think I ever will, but good try. If you're on an iPhone, the join button does not show up. Okay, so I kept hearing that, and that's why I shared the link. So that's so weird that iPhones have that issue. That seems very disconcerting for channel members, but you know, it is what it is. I think if you go on your Mac, then I think Kim had the same issue and she fixed it. She can probably help you out. She's in the chat right now. Deb Young, welcome to as a new sub and a new member. Welcome. You teach Microsoft Office to law clerks. That's pretty cool. So you're gonna get some ins and outs of the law on this channel. You can watch a lot of my previous lives, and we're gonna be going live every Saturday. Okay, so I'm not gonna be taking questions right now, chat. So I'm trying to get through the announcements so that we can talk about today's topic. So I don't want to deviate too much. If you have questions, save them for the end. We will be answering questions. There will be a Q&A session probably within the hour, around maybe 7:30 or so. I'm going to be answering questions. But first, I want to get through all of this. So please hold your questions. So I do have 3 emojis. Like I said, Megan has shared them in the chat. The 3 emojis, member only, available. So if you guys want to have access to those. I do have 10 more caricature emojis of myself in the works. About 6 of them are ready, and some of them are being modified. So those are going to become available as soon as I get enough members, because like I said, I understand I need a certain number of members to unlock some of these emojis. So that's going to be in the future. I already have 3 out of 5, so I only have room for 2 more. But eventually I'm going to have a whole lot more. And as more people, thanks, Swan Villian. As more people join, I'm going to be able to add more emojis. I think to add all the ones I have available, I need, let's see, I need like 50 or 75 members, and then I'll be able to add all the emojis I have as soon as they're ready. So, hey, Dan. So that's memberships. Again, we're all ever so close to 50,000 subs. Probably going to get there within a week or 2. So thank you guys so much for all your support. It's been unbelievable, especially in the pandemic times. We've all suffered. October is finally starting to get a little bit better. We're starting to get our practice back on our feet. And right as I say that, I don't know if any of you are in Kentucky. I know Tracy said that he is in Versailles. So Kentucky, a lot of counties are in the red zone right now. Lots of new COVID cases are popping up all over the map, which is very unfortunate. But I mean, winter is hitting, so winter is coming for all you Game of Thrones fans. It's I don't know. I don't know what the future holds. I don't want to jinx it. I guess we'll just see. We'll just see what's going to happen. Happy Halloween, Dave. Eric, I appreciate the kind words, brother. I appreciate it. He says the channel is about to blow up. Just watch. Maybe. I don't know. I guess I've been waiting for that moment of glory. Megan just shared the emojis again. Thanks, Megan. Richard says, won't let me join you. Even if you press this button, the link that I shared, this won't let you join. That's so unfortunate. Hey, Christina, happy Halloween. That's so weird. Well, I mean, if you go to another computer, if you have a friend with a PC or something, we'll be able to do that. Next on the list, I want to talk about the November calendar. It has been posted under the community tab, by the way, for those of you searching. Today, we're talking about, as I said, of course, the evolution of law. Next Saturday, we're talking about the difference between drug and alcohol DUIs and how each one of those is litigated, the differences, the commonalities between them according to the law, and so on. The Saturday after that, on November 21st, or I'm sorry, the November 14th, one of our regular members, or viewers, I should say, I think he's a subscriber. His name is JJE on YouTube, and God bless him. Sometimes he posts the funniest responses to some of my memes and posts and whatnot, and he comments on a lot of my videos. When I asked the question of how, what topics do you all want me to talk about? What things do you want me to say? Thanks, Willie Czar, for the $5 dono. He says, boo. Scary stuff. Happy Halloween, Willie. So he, as a joke, I think he was joking, in the topics of what kind of topics would you like me to cover? He said, how can I borrow $10? So I decided to take him very literally, and I created a topic. And on November 14th, we're going to talk about how JJE can borrow $10. So, hey, joke's on you, JJE. You're now officially on the schedule. And we're going to talk about how JJE username JJE on YouTube can borrow $10. So welcome to the DUI Guy channel, where trolls actually get their own slot on the calendar. Then the week after that, November 21st, that's right before Thanksgiving. This one is actually pretty sought after. Some people have indicated in their responses that they really cannot wait to talk about. It's what degree to get before law school. So we'll cover a range. Again, I'm no expert. I'm just holding these topics to for educational purposes for you all, and that's just going to be an open discussion, really, for the most part. Because as some of you know, who are regular viewers of the channel know, I was a philosophy major when I went into law school. So not your traditional, not your non-traditional. I was pretty much in the 3%. There were about maybe 5 or 6 of us who were philosophy majors in my class. And I think that's pretty universal. I don't think it's very common, a common major to see in law school. Mostly are poli-sci and biology and other science majors who are med school dropouts or med school, didn't get into med school. So we're going to talk about that on the 21st of November. And then on the last Saturday in November, on the 28th, another favorite topic of mine. I've already covered it in so many different videos, but this is going to be a standalone video where we're going to talk about when you should versus when you should not talk to the police. Now, those of you who are regular viewers of the channel hold your tongue, because you already know the answer to that. And you already know, you're probably wondering, how am I going to extend a 3-second answer to an hour video? And I guess I'm just going to have to work my magic. But I have an idea. I have an idea of how I'm going to do it. I have 4 weeks to come up with a game plan, so I'm not too worried about it. Carla, again, I know you may have just joined. Please save your questions to the end. We haven't even started talking about the topic for today, which is the evolution of law. So I wanted to thank you all once again. We have a smaller audience today, which is fine. Most people are probably out partying, drinking, celebrating Halloween. I don't know if your state is still under strict quarantine, or you have a little bit more restrictions lifted. So I understand if people are not here, that's totally fine. I'm just doing this because this is our regular time that we meet every week. So let's get started. Well, again, yeah, so I wanted to thank you all for your support. Thank you for those who have joined as members. Thank you all for being a subscriber. Don't forget to like this video, comment below, and subscribe to the channel. Hit that notification bell in case you haven't already. So let's get started. Let's talk about the evolution of law. Now, I want to preface this by saying, I'm not an expert. I did not study this to any degree of professionalism when I was in college or in law school. This was not my major. I'm not trying to portray myself as being a historian, because I'm not. This is kind of like a combination of my personal education, some research that I completed before today, and I just want to kind of talk about the law generally. So this is not any type of specific discussion. We'll be covering anywhere from natural law, 200,000 BC up to today, or as close to today as we can get. So this is by no means an exhaustive discussion of laws, and it's mostly going to focus on Western culture, Western laws. And by that, I mean Europe and the Americas for the most part. Canada, the United States, a little bit of South America, and Europe, mostly England. So we may touch up a little bit on Asia and the Middle East and Islam, Jewish law, time permitting. But that's definitely, like I said, this is an extremely dense, and there's just so much that we're not going to be able to cover everything. So with that being said, what is law, right? We always wonder, why do we have laws? Some people think we would go into anarchy if we didn't have laws. Other people think that natural law would take over. I think David Hume was one of those proponents that if humans did not have laws, it would be chaos and anarchy, and everybody would be killing each other on the streets. If I'm not getting my philosophers crossed in my head. But the purpose of laws is because we're social creatures, right? And the argument goes, the philosophical argument is that hundreds of thousands of years ago, when we were operating purely on instinct. Richard, thank you so much for the $20 donation. Thank you for trying to join, the patient and eager to join. I'm sorry, man. I'm sorry it's not working for you. Hopefully you'll get it to work. But we're social animals. We're social creatures. So before we had the conscious mind develop, this is kind of, we're going to talk a little bit philosophically about the laws and what they were and how they were before they even existed, right? So pure natural law, when humans were still animals operating purely on instinct, and there was no real conscious mind developed, people didn't need laws. There were no laws. We were social creatures. We were social animals. We were herding animals. Humans are part of a herd. We're a herding animal. And when we were out in nature, we didn't need laws. We operated purely on instinct. there was no need for laws because, again, the conscious mind was completely undeveloped, and there was no need for any type of laws. Now, the first time, probably, I would venture to say this is a kind of like an educated guess based on my background. I would say about maybe 175 to 200,000 years ago, when one of these early primates first realized, you know what, I can take a rock and beat the leader of the herd over the head with a rock, and now I can be the leader. You know, that's essentially committing murder. This is the first shift you could imagine from pure instinct to conscious mind being developed, because consciousness does not follow instinct all the time. As obviously we know, people rob, rape, steal, kill. Those are not natural things. It does not happen in nature. Now, I know some of you will say, well, that's not true. You know, eagles eat rabbits. They kill rabbits, for instance. There are animals that steal another animal's eggs and consume them. I mean, is that not theft? Is that not murder? Well, the exception that nature makes for animals instinctively is that as long as it is solely for survival. Now, what I mean by that is food, of course. That is permitted so long as it's just for food purposes. So an animal would never kill another animal just to kill it. It would usually consume it after it's done so. And the theft of the eggs, again, it's done for purposes of food. And of course, no raccoon is going to be prosecuted for stealing an egg, like a chicken egg or something like that. You know what I'm saying? So that's pretty much the animal kingdom. So as time goes on, and we have no record of this. Again, this is pure conjecture and speculation, I think, on anyone's part. Probably about 10,000 or so years ago, humans, maybe even earlier, humans started to create some type of legal structure, maybe even 20,000 years ago. I guess you could even imagine there. So they needed some type of recourse for individuals who would come and, you know, kill a member of their family or steal their food. That was no longer socially acceptable at any point. But now they probably look to create some of these laws. We don't have a record of any of them, although I'm sure they existed, at least by spoken word. You know, if you do this, you will have this done to you. 20,000, 15,000, 10,000, 5,000 years ago. So as one author eloquently put it, and I'll probably include a link to his article in the description. He says, man is a social and sociable creature whose place is within a community. So there emerges a need for organization, discipline, which leads to the occurrence of behavior rules to set norms that harmonize the individual's interests to the interests of the community as part of the collective interest. Along with the evolution of human society and in organization in families, races, and tribes, the emergence of first behavior rules embedded in skills, habits, and customs, etc., emerge. The entire community acts according to these rules because disobedience had an influence on the survival of the entire community. They had a powerful, mystical, and religious character. So that's basically why laws were created, to keep communities to be able to move forward. Because if you don't have laws, you have, as we all know, essentially anarchy. Everybody does what they want, how they want, and there's no repercussion, no recourse. A community cannot develop and grow and be productive and so on. And as communities get larger, the more and more need arises for these laws to be in place. So as far as we are concerned, as far as we know in modern days, ancient Egyptian law is the first place where we find written laws. For the first time, we have, because currency, I'm sure some of you know, has existed as far, we have evidence as far as like 10,000 BC. But actual laws, which is a little bit more complex, because I think we have slabs with individuals trading and making transactions, again, as far as like 7,500 or 10,000 BC. Laws are a little bit more complex, I think, to write down for those primitive people. Transactions for I'll give you 3 silver coins for an ox was a lot easier to write down, 12,000 years ago. But essentially, that's where we first find written laws in ancient Egypt. And that was based on the concept of Maat. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly, but that's pretty much the first time we see written laws is in ancient Egypt. Maat was also a goddess, and she embodied the concepts of social equality, impartiality, rhetorical speech, and tradition. Those were her characteristics. Then we have a long blank. By the 22nd century, we know that an ancient Sumerian ruler formulated the first laws consisting of casuistic statements. These are, causastic statements, I think is what it's supposed to say. If-then statements. You've all heard of those. If blank, then blank. If you kill, then you will be executed. If you steal, then you will have your right hand cut off. Sort of what we know today as a basic logical statement. And then, of course, the most famous, around 1760 BC, King Hammurabi developed the Babylonian law. That's the one that pretty much everyone is familiar with. Hammurabi's Code, as it's known today. And he codified it, he inscribed it in stone, and we found slabs of stone in modern day. And Hammurabi placed several of those copies around his kingdom in Babylon so that everybody could see it. And this became known as the Codex Hammurabi, or Hammurabi's Code. Now, it was pretty well preserved. So we have a great idea of what these laws were in Babylon at the time. And the most common law on it that most people are familiar with, an eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth, which is lax talionis, the law of whatever you do unto me, I will do unto you. So if we get into a fight and my eye gets injured to where I can no longer see out of my left eye, your vision in your left eye shall be removed from you as well. Very, very basic, rudimentary, but it's a system of deterrence. It wasn't really a very effective system in my mind. I mean, if you really think about it, some of it still remains to this day. Of course, again, murder is the easiest one that comes to mind. If you murder somebody, we will probably execute you unless you can show some type of mitigating factor such as insanity or self-defense. But back then, none of this existed. You kill somebody, you get killed. I mean, that's pretty much it. You break someone's tooth, you break someone's lip open, you're going to get your lip broken and your tooth broken, your lip ripped, or so on. So, and interestingly enough, it also had a gradation system, which is most people, I think, are unaware of. So if you were, and it was based on status and gender. So if you were a slave versus being a free man, if you were a male versus a female, there were different gradations, and I'm sure that they were brutal and very chauvinistic and very European, as we might think of it. If you're a free male, obviously you're going to have a whole lot more freedom than a free woman, or if you're a slave man, you're going to have a whole lot less freedom than a slave than a free man, and so on. So nearly half of the code, by the way, also deals with matters of contract, wages to be paid. For example, the difference between being an ox driver and a surgeon. Again, something that I think most people are unaware of, which I thought was really, really cool. Other provisions set terms of a transaction. So, for instance, liability of a builder in case the house collapses. or property that is damaged while being in the custody of another, basic landlord-tenant law. And like I said, the liability would be like an insurance policy in these days, because no insurance policies existed at that time. And about a third of the code addresses issues of household and family relationships, such as inheritance, divorce, paternity, and reproductive behavior. Only one, and I find this interesting, that government corruption goes so deep and so ancient that only one provision appears to impose obligations on a government official. And this provision establishes that a judge who alters his decision after it is written down is to be fined and removed from the bench permanently. So if a judge issues an order and later changes it, they are to be fined and removed from the bench. I mean, that's it. That's the only governmental punishment for individuals. So that's just, I found that very, very funny and sad at the same time. But anyway, so yeah, that's pretty much where that ends. Then we have a bunch of laws in other systems. But the interesting thing that I found is that the Greeks didn't really have a word for law. I think the Romans did, but not the Greeks. And Roman law was codified a little bit in the 6th century AD by Byzantine Emperor Justinian I. But again, you see how there's these huge gaps of codification, because back then codification was sparse. It was pretty much ruler to ruler. A ruler would go into come into power, conquer a territory, and the laws were in effect while the ruler was alive. And maybe they were codified. I imagine they would be. And then when the ruler would die, they would just be destroyed because nobody else would care. They wouldn't want to follow them anyway. So it makes a lot of sense. Why would you want to keep? You're the new ruler in town. The old ruler just died a week ago. Why would you want anything of his remaining while the empire is under your rule? You destroy everything that he created, and especially if you conquered him. I mean, if you're the heir, I could see you might want to preserve as the heir. But if you are a conqueror, who cares? You want to destroy as much of the old stuff of the previous ruler as quickly as possible. So, thank you, Andres. So that's basically ancient rule. Now, if we go a little bit more to modern times, like I said, the Roman Empire, but a little bit after that, there were some attempts. So these are a couple of classic examples you probably know from history. Some of you who are history buffs, if others of you who are not, this will be a lesson for you. Some attempts were made at creating a rule of law, but most of them were either temporary and only lasted while the ruler or the king who drafted them was alive and actually ruled over the territory, or they simply failed miserably and ended in war. Two prominent examples from history are, of course, the laws of William the Conqueror in England after the Battle of Hastings in 1066. So some of you who may be familiar with the Battle of Hastings and its conclusion, when William the Conqueror came and conquered England, he instituted laws. And some of them, I can include the link in the chat, by the way. I found it quite fascinating, actually, again, because I'm such a nerd and I find that stuff interesting. He basically created a monotheistic religion between the English and the Normans, and that they had to follow and swear an oath to be loyal to the new king, William the Conqueror, of course. You don't want traitors in your midst. And then he just created several different laws for murder, for trade, for theft, for land, those sorts of things. Slavery was abolished, interestingly enough. No man is allowed to sell another man. Anyone breaking this law will pay a fine to the king. So slavery was kind of, in 1066, I find it very interesting that in 1066, you know, no, I thought they still had serfs. Serfdom was, they attempted to do away with in 1215, which we'll talk about in a second. But the final provision I found was the most interesting. No one shall be executed for crimes they have committed, but if they are guilty of a crime, they will be blinded and castrated. This law is not to be challenged. So if you're convicted, you're castrated and blinded. So you cannot have kids and you can't see. Yeah. And then the other one that I found interesting was the sixth one. If a Frenchman accuses an Englishman of murder, theft, or perjury, that Englishman shall be allowed to defend himself either by ordeal through combat or by hot iron. So if that Englishman is too ill, he can find someone else. If you all have seen Game of Thrones, that's when they were doing trial by combat, and you could pick your combattee. But if an Englishman accuses a Frenchman of a crime and is unwilling to prove his case against the Frenchman by ordeal of combat or hot iron, that Frenchman will be acquitted if he swears an oath of innocence. I mean, think about how crazy that is. I was wondering about that too, Zephyl. Hot iron. I'm guessing it's got to be combat by guns, either that or something to do with heat. I mean, actual hot iron, meaning heating of swords. I'm not sure, to be completely honest. I'm not 100%. You all are more than welcome to look this up. But the Frenchman could swear an oath, maybe branding iron. That's what I was thinking, Christopher Matthias. If he swears an oath and says, I am innocent, back then, think about how only 1,000 years ago, really not that long ago, only 1,000 years ago, swearing an oath was still a very, very powerful thing. If you swore an oath, I mean, people were, you swore an oath, I guess, on the Bible and the Word of God. That's a very powerful thing. It's a very, very powerful thing. And people trusted that. Your oath was believed. Now, you may have lied, and God forbid if it's later found out that you have perjured yourself, that's probably death for you. Perjury was an unforgivable sin because you have perjured yourself, not before us. It's today that perjury is amongst people. Back then, you perjured yourself against God. You perjured yourself in the eyes of God. That's it. I mean, you have no purpose of living on this planet anymore. You have perjured yourself before the Almighty. You're gone. You know, that's pretty much how things were in the olden days, which is very respectable. It's nowadays you perjure yourself and then you have to prove perjury. It's a criminal offense, so it's got to be beyond a reasonable doubt. You have elements and so on. And you can win on technicalities, just like in any other law. And you can even lose and get convicted and still not serve any jail time and forget about getting executed 1,000 years ago. So there's lots has changed. Lots, of course, has changed. So that's 1066. And then if we go to the Magna Carta, which was a royal charter of rights agreed by King John of England near Windsor on June 15th of 1215, so just 800 years ago. It was first drafted by the Archbishop of Canterbury, Stephen Langton, to make peace between the unpopular king and a group of rebel barons. It promised the protection of church rights, protection from, for the barons from illegal imprisonment, access to swift justice, and limitations on feudal payments to the crown. And it was to be implemented through a council of 25 barons. Well, this is kind of like the first attempt at real due process. And we will talk about very briefly in a moment about the Salem witch trials, which I actually didn't include in this presentation, but I just remembered as I'm going through this. They were in the late 17th century. I mean, that's only 300 years ago. That is so scary. And we'll get to a whole lot more in a minute. But In 1215, this was the first attempt at due process. So you access to swift justice, no delay. So you're not sitting in a prison cell while nothing is being done. Limitation on payments, that's probably taxes, protection of church rights, protection from illegal imprisonment, again, kind of goes hand in hand with the swift justice. And it failed miserably. Not only did either side did not stand behind their commitments, the charter was annulled by Pope Innocent III, and that led to the First Barons' War. So it didn't work. And then if you look historically, like I said, the Salem witch trials, which I want to talk about just briefly, 1692, 1693, there was a huge panic. There's a huge panic, and this was here in colonial Massachusetts. If you were accused, if you were a female and somebody didn't like you, all you had to do was point the finger and say, "I accuseth thee of witchcraft," or whatever they said in those days. And that was pretty much a death sentence. A mere accusation of being a witch and conducting witchcraft. It was absolutely abhorrent. And the Liberty Cause, I know the basics. I don't. I urge the chat to do more research into all of these things that I'm reading about. Like I said, this is a cursory overview of the history of the evolution of laws. At the end of the 17th century, just 330 years ago, if you came up at somebody and said, "I accuse you of being a witch," they needed to defend themselves. And the only way they could do that is they had trials. They had trials, but these trials were not like the trials of today. The trials were very simple, and I know some of you already know. You were thrown into a river with a rock tied to you, and if you drowned, you were innocent, but you're dead. So who cares, right? Proven your innocence by death. If you floated, then you were a witch, which means you're going to be executed anyway. Now, of course, nobody floated. They all drowned and were proven innocent, which I guess posthumously is kind of nice, but who cares? Again, you as a person are no longer in existence. So thank God we're not living in 1693, right, James? I think I've just been accused, which I don't know. Does the costume give it away? I'm not sure. I'm not supposed to be a witch, but I guess I could be accused of witchcraft if with all this makeup on. So that's only 330 years ago. And trials, like I said, were very brutal, and they were very unforgiving. And it was pretty much a death sentence just to have the finger pointed at you. And the scary thing is the same thing was happening in Soviet Russia less than 100 years ago. Fast forward 230 years, 240 even. And if you were opposed to socialism in communist Russia, all somebody had to do was point the finger and say, you said bad things about Lenin. You said bad things about Stalin when he came to power. And that's pretty much it. That's a death sentence. You're going to be sent to either a prison camp and work to death, or you'd be maybe executed later in the week after a very brief trial. Because if some of you may know, under the Russian Constitution, I'm not sure if I talked about this before, but the second Russian Constitution that was written after the revolution had a provision in it where, we're all familiar with the laws of the United States of America, where you have to be proven guilty and you're presumed innocent. Well, Russia was the other way around. You were presumed guilty, and then you had to prove your innocence, which is a way, way, way harder standard. Way harder standard. I mean, especially if it's just pure hearsay. I heard him say that is the accusation. Now, you got to prove beyond a reasonable doubt you did not say that. I mean, that you can see how it's so extreme, and 99% of people were convicted. So if you didn't like your neighbor and you wanted their apartment, all you had to say is they said a bad thing about Stalin. They'll be gone in a week, and that apartment's yours. Very scary stuff. And that's only 100 years ago. Modern laws, if you will, and so on. So that brings us really into the 20th century. The 20th century, I was shocked by this, by the way, when I found this. In 1907 was the first edition of the Swiss Civil Code was written in Switzerland. And in 1911, it became the first civil code to introduce commercial law. Very, very, very late in the game. Your first commercial law code only came on scene 9 years ago? 109 years. So through this entire period of history, you had your basic laws, but as we all know, laws become more and more complex. They became a whole lot more intricate. They included a whole lot more intricacies amongst themselves and interactions amongst themselves. And the idea of codification, apparently, in my research, has shown that it has reemerged around the Age of Enlightenment, when it was believed that all spheres of life could be dealt with in a conclusive system based on human rationality, following from the experience of the early codification of Roman law during the Roman Empire that we talked about. And in the United States, for example, again, codification came very, very late, not including, of course, the Constitution that was written in 1776, or I think it was actually written in 1775 and signed in 1776. For all you history buffs, feel free to jump in the chat. Again, like I said, I'm not a historian, so I know bits and pieces, but I don't know everything. And in the United States, it appears that the codification only came pretty late in the game. U.S. legal codes are actually collections of common law from English common law and a variety of ad hoc statutes that literally mean nothing by themselves, and they're a collection of various laws that are to be enforced, meaning they do not aspire to complete a logical coherence. I mean, if you read statutes, you see that they do not make logical sense from beginning to end. So, for instance, the California Civil Code largely codifies common law doctrine and is very different in form from all other civil codes. Now, I'm glad that the Liberty Cause has mentioned this. I follow the hierarchy of natural law, he says. Before we get into what Liberty Cause refers to when he says natural law, I want to talk about a lot of comments that I get on my channel involve God-given rights, right? Some of you say, I have a right to transport myself from point A to point B. I do not require a license, and so on. Some people talk about God-given rights. This is my right to free speech or to be free from confinement is a God-given right and therefore cannot be taken away from me. And I keep harping on this day in and day out. And I think the misconception really comes from people's unfamiliarity with other forms of government, other cultures and forms of government elsewhere in the world or in history. And they're limited in their scope. All they know is the laws of the United States and nothing more. And I think that's really what leads to people to think that the laws and the rights that we have currently in the United States are God-given, cannot be taken away, and so on. But let's imagine for a second a conqueror, okay? This will probably put it in perspective. And it turns out let's pretend that there's a continent we just somehow never discovered. They have technology so far advanced, let's say, where they were camouflaged this entire time. So when everybody Kind of, maybe it's underwater, let's say. So nobody even knew. We only explored 5% of the oceans, right? Well, they've been sitting and lurking and waiting. And their first target is the United States. They're saying, you know what? We're going to conquer the United States. And their technology and their weapons are so far advanced. I mean, we don't stand a candle. There is absolutely no way for us to. Yes, Atlantis rises again. let's make it Atlantis. Why in the hell not? Again, for the sake of this hypothetical. And their first target is the United States. And they go and they begin war with the United States. And the United States is unable to fight them. They're unable to beat them. And they lose in battle to these Atlanteans. And Atlanteans are very, very fierce individuals, let's say. And they implement draconian laws. They take away all governments in the United States. So there's no more federal, there are no more state, there's just Atlantean law. And Atlantean law dictates, and they have one ruler, it's, let's say, the Atlantean emperor. And now everything that they dictate is the law of the land. Does that make sense? So if they say you are not permitted to create burgers anymore, and the food of the country shall solely be potatoes, and you have a restaurant that's going to try and create, McDonald's would go out of business, right? Burgers are now illegal. You cannot create burgers. You cannot make burgers at home. You cannot sell burgers, or else you're going to be fined, thrown into jail, hell, and maybe even executed. Who knows? Atlantean law rules now, ladies and gentlemen. So all your God-given rights, your right to free speech, gone. Your right to a free religion, no, we only pray to the fish of the ocean. That's your God now. It's not even Poseidon, it's just the fish. Okay? There is no freedom of religion. You can't pray to you can't be Catholic, you can't be Jewish, you can't be Muslim, you can't be Hindu. All of that is completely out the window. So all your quote unquote God-given rights have just been taken away from you in the sweep of a hand. Now, of course, again, this is an extreme example. Thank you for the $2 donation, Baki Shamil. I'm just going to keep your comment to yourself. But you see what I'm saying? So these God-given rights are nothing if a dictator, let's say, comes along and takes them all away from you. Now, we have put in protections, of course, in the United States to prevent tyranny, to prevent an overthrow of government from the inside. We have military to keep other countries out. I mean, these are all protections that are put in place, but they're all temporary. They're all temporary. And they will eventually fizzle. And it's going to take 20, 40, 60, 80, 100 years. But all civilizations eventually collapse and get replaced by another civilization. It's just normal course of human nature, or human societal development, if you will. Sometimes revolutions are internal, sometimes revolutions are external. So you're absolutely right, Liberty Cause. So I hope that clears up to all of you naysayers who say, well, I got my God-given rights and they can't be taken away from me. Well, I just provided a clear example of how your so-called God-given rights have just been fizzled away in one war. All it takes is a conqueror or a revolution. One is external, the other is internal. Thank you, Baki Shamil, for the other $2. Again, thanks, brother. So, and some of these, by the way, are happening across the globe as we speak, but it's impossible. I provided a frame of reference for you as a United States citizen or a United States civilian. If something were to happen here, right? Now, I can talk about what's happening across the globe all day long. You're not going to be able to picture it in your mind of how people are just being slaughtered in the streets, in the desert, for absolutely no reason at all, just because they pray to a different God than you do. But that is happening. So the humanitarian and the philosophical argument is that God-given rights must exist, and they do. but they're so fragile. They're so susceptible to be taken away by corrupt politicians or conquerors or dictators and so on, that you can't really call it, because when you think about a God-given right can't be taken away. It's given by God, right? Well, if a corrupt politician comes along, changes the laws, and now removes your God-given rights, how are they God-given, right? Pardon the pun. How are they a God-given right? So that's how that works. Kentucky will rise again. No, we're not going there. We're not going there, Richard. I'm simply talking in hypotheticals. This is what I'm talking about. So yeah, Roy Rush. I'm not even going to entertain that question because it makes absolutely no sense. I'm again, stay on topic. So the United States, as some of you probably know already, and other Commonwealth countries are heirs to the common law legal tradition of English law. Okay, this is where most laws really come from. So certain practices traditionally allowed under English common law were specifically outlawed by the Constitution, such as bills of attainder and general search warrants. Also, titles of nobility were removed. So all U.S. states except Louisiana have enacted reception statutes, which basically say that the common law of England, particularly judge-made law, is the law of the state to the extent that it's not repugnant to domestic law or indigenous conditions. And unlike the states, there's no real plenary reception statute at the federal level that continued the common law and thereby granted federal courts the power to formulate their own legal precedent like their English predecessors. So judges create law that is stacked on top of the common law. You have the common law, you have judicial decisions, you have statutes, and that's how law began to evolve over the last 200 years. And the passage of time has led to state courts and legislatures to expand, overrule, or modify the common law, essentially. And as a result, the laws of any given state invariably differ from the laws of its sister states, because there's been one core at the very, very heart of laws, and then that diverged and merged into the ungodly thing that we have today. So that's pretty much all I have to say in my discussion of the evolution of law. So as you can see, we went from animals who have no laws at all other than pure instinct, which I think is the ultimate law. That's really the God, if you want to call instinct God, which I think is synonymous. God is instinct, instinct is God. You're operating on such a mechanism that does not allow you. I mean, when have you seen an animal purely under natural circumstances? I'm not talking about an animal in confinement, commit a crime. It doesn't happen. It does not happen. An actual crime against another animal. To the contrary, most animals who fight in nature, when they're fighting over territory or food or a female, which pretty much is the only time two animals will ever fight, are those three things: over food, a mate, or territory. That's it. Sometimes their fight doesn't even involve actual fighting. They simply, I mean, I know some fish open up their mouths, and whoever has the bigger mouth, they keep clashing. And when they realize, okay, this fish has the bigger mouth, I'm just going to back away because I'm smaller and inferior. That conserves energy. That allows them to be more efficient and doesn't require the burning of energy for needless things. Baki Shamel, thanks again for another $5 dono. Regards from NYC. Thanks, brother. Okay. So the animal world, the animal kingdom, and then once consciousness develops, this is humans. This is exclusively for humans. conscious mind requires the development of laws because we begin to deviate from pure 100% natural law, which involves, like I said, exclusively animals. And we see how time and time and time again, laws are developed and they're faulty, they fail. Even the ones that are codified early on, I remember, I'm sure you've all heard the concept of Draconian Laws that was written by Draco, I believe, in ancient Greece. Pretty much everything he thought, and I mean, it was a novel idea at the time. I can see it. This is something I did not cover. I remembered it. He thought, I think it was more deterrence than anything else. I mean, I'm sure he didn't want to kill the entire population, but he thought that if the punishment for everything was going to be death, people are going to be less inclined to commit the crime. Well, it turns out that's not true. And even modern judges make the same mistake. They think, well, if we take away their license for a full year and implement a heavy fine and jail time on a first offense DUI, DUIs will go away. That has proven there's absolutely no correlation between deterrence and the severity of the punishment. Deterrence does not deter the crime. I mean, it doesn't matter how draconian the punishment is going to be, people are still going to be committing the crime. So the deterrence value is pretty much nil across the board. It does not affect humans' commission of the crime. Then, interestingly enough, he learned very quickly, Draco learned very quickly that instituting death for every single offense doesn't work, and that was quickly overruled. But I imagine how many people have been killed for petty crimes like theft or assault or shoplifting, which again is also kind of theft. It's staggering just to think about, but that's how laws evolved. So it took 3,000 years to really be able to create laws that still don't work, by the way, but they're about as efficient as you can get. And with that, by the way, in the United States, as we all know, you have standards that some countries do not have, like the standards of being requiring reasonable suspicion to be investigated, or probable cause to be arrested, or beyond a reasonable doubt to be convicted of a crime. It's scary to think about, but the United States really is far advanced in this system. And on top of everything, I think the United States is very, very far advanced in the implementation of juries. By the way, guys, for those of you who have just joined the channel, don't forget to like this video, comment below, subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell. You can now also join as a member, which you get member perks and so on, which are also available under the community tab in the channel. So the United States is very far advanced in the system of juries, because a lot of countries, they're all like Israel comes to mind. Israel does not have a constitution. Israel does not have a jury system. It's all decided by judges. If you go to trial, it's always a trial by judge. If you go on appeal, it's always judges, even in the United States. But some countries don't have juries, like Israel. They don't have juries. Some Muslim countries don't have juries. The United States has juries. And I think it's very, very good. It's a checks and balances on the judiciary, to where corruption, paying off a judge and so on, is a whole lot more difficult in these cases. And bias is still there, but it's now, it can be mitigated. You can now have 6 men and women from the community deciding your fate. I think that's extraordinary. Absolutely extraordinary. So that, it is messed up. And Liberty Cause, I agree. A cop cannot put someone in jail in Israel. I don't know that for a fact, but if you say so, I'll take your word for it. A judge has to make that decision. So I guess you can't be arrested in Israel. That doesn't make any sense, but I'll take your word for it. So let's open this up to questions. I've been talking here for almost an hour now. Let's open it up for questions. So what kind of questions do you all have? This is a very wide topic, and I don't know if I'm going to be able to address all of your questions. I'm going to absolutely do my best. Maybe we can have Mayari Jones give us. I think she works in Dow Jones in my research I've discovered, and she may be able to give us some investment advice, which is going to be really cool. What should we invest in, Ms. Jones? Where's the money? What's the sure thing these days? Loving the earth. What's the moniker on the New York Stock Exchange for loving the earth? She means Tesla, says James. I think she's right. Loving the earth is Tesla. Everybody's going gold and silver. Are Teslas made of gold and silver? I'm pretty sure they are. So anyway, yeah, so questions. Zephiel, I think you're going to start us off. The Atlantean hypothetical that I brought, that Atlanteans are coming out of the ocean and conquering the United States, and now you're subject to their rules. Am I saying that Atlanteans won't allow you to use your God-given right to travel freely? I don't know. Will they? Is one of the provisions of the Atlantean Code going to be that you are not required to have in your possession any type of licensure? You can just get in the car and drive so long as you have passed a series of tests, which again, how do you prove that you passed the series of tests? Because you definitely don't want a bunch of crazy people who don't know how to drive, which I think is what we have now, but haven't even taken the course, haven't even studied or passed a course, as rudimentary as it may be, to get behind the wheel of a car. I mean, that still sounds scary. I mean, I don't know if you've seen some footage from India, but I've seen video of how insane their traffic flow is in India. It's absolutely insane. You literally have to try and not get run over. And I don't even know, on some of these, most people over there drive mopeds, I've noticed. I don't think you even need a license for that. So again, it's insane. But their population, of course, is way, way higher. They're way over 1 billion people. So Rusky, I may start addressing like this every day, actually. Yeah, and meet with my clients, go to court. I don't see a reason why not. I mean, it looks very, very natural. Very natural. Hey, there we go. Richard the Lion. Hey, welcome. Welcome. He picked the honorary lawyer membership. Thanks, brother. That's awesome. Thank you for that, brother. We now have another one added to the team. For those of you who need the link, by the way, let me go ahead and reshare it in the chat. Community. Where did you go? Where did you go? There you are. Copy link. And we're gonna add it in here. So yeah, if you hit that link that I just shared in the chat, that's to join as a member. So welcome, Richard. Welcome. Is my local sheriff really the final law as he says, asks John Doe. What do you mean by that? I'm not 100% sure. My local sheriff says he's the final law. Do you mean that he's the final arbiter of the law in your interaction with him? Which I guess would be kind of correct. They decide whether or not to arrest you. David Parsons, welcome. Look at that, 2 back-to-back. Thank you. So John Doe, if you can clarify on that, I'll be more than happy to answer. But any other questions about laws historically, or how they evolved, how rights evolved? If anybody still wants to argue that, yes, I do have God-given right and you are full of crap, the DUI guy, Mr. Foreman, absolutely, I disagree with you, which is fair. I mean, this is the place for discussion. I'm happy to back up my answer. That part is true, says John Doe. This guy has proclaimed to not follow the lockdown, for example. So yeah, John, people in power are always going to be, they're always going to tend to feel like they're above the law. I mean, I think some lawyers are guilty of the same. I try to at least kind of hone in as much as I can, although sometimes you do feel pretty powerful. You get to come in a courtroom and talk to a judge, respectfully, but still firsthand, and the judge will sit there and listen. They can't just say, I don't want to talk to you. You have that power. As an individual litigant sitting in the pews, you don't have that power. You only get to come up when the judge calls your name and gives you permission to speak. So it does give you a sense of power. You also feel that police officers, you're friends with police officers. You feel like you can talk your way out of things, which is the dumbest, by the way, the dumbest and deadliest thing that a lawyer can do. Like, I know the law, I'm smart, I can just finagle my way out of like an interrogation or something. If God forbid that ever happens to an attorney, that's the most devastating and deadly. Never try to be your own lawyer. You know what the joke about lawyers, the joke about someone representing themselves. I mean, you have a fool for a client. So Zephiel, I don't know if you're asking someone else a question. Did you have to study other systems of law, like civil law, common law versus customary law? I think you're talking to somebody else. I don't think that's a question to me, but anyway. My question is, why is there a price on justice? Because money talks, Ms. Jones. Money talks. You don't have money, you can't get justice these days. Just the way it works. When was the first law written in Humankind? I talked about that, Mike Newland. As far as we know, ancient Egypt, about 3,000 years ago. No, it was before Mesopotamia. It was before Mesopotamia. Are there U.S. laws about morality? That's a good question, Andrew. Morality is embedded in a lot of laws. I mean, thou shalt not kill, right? One of the 10 commandments, and we have laws against murder. Morality is embedded in it, that thou shalt respect another human's life, right? So you can't just go on and take it away. You don't have a right to do that. But so morality is embedded in that law, even though it's not written that this law is a moral law or something like that. You know what I mean? So morality is embedded. Thou shalt not steal. Again, you cannot take something that does not belong to you without lawful authority. You can trade for it. I'll give you tit for tat. And if it's a bad deal, it's a bad deal. I'll give you a penny for your dollar. If the person is an idiot, sure, I'll trade. Maybe the penny is worthless. Maybe the penny is from 1892 and it's worth way more. Again, contract law, for instance, does not look at the value of the deal made. If there was an agreement and the deal was made, that's it. If you think that you just have a rock and you want to sell it for $5 because you want to buy a burger, later it turns out that this rock is actually an uncut diamond worth millions of dollars, you just made a bad deal. You can't, no trade backs, no take backs. So morality is embedded, but it's never explicitly written down. Bruno, what happens to someone's property if they die without a will? That's called dying intestate, and there are rules for that in every state. And we are going to put this user in timeout. He's asking me to play Minecraft. Do I seriously? What do I look like? It does go through probate. You got it. Why not pay public defenders more? Richard, I agree with you. I think they should be compensated way more for all the hard work that they do, but it's all decided on the state level because they're salary. They're paid by the government. Oh, okay, Zephiel. Okay, I gotcha. So let me go back to your question. Did you have to study other systems of law? No, I never did. Civil law, common law, customary law. No, this is all just pure fun research on my end and going back to my education. And some crimes are considered crimes of moral turpitude, but James Childs, for purposes of other purposes, if that makes any sense. So if you're trying to, let's say, travel to Canada, crimes of moral turpitude will ban you. If you're trying to get a citizenship, or if you are here on a visa, crimes of moral turpitude may prohibit you from staying or getting a citizenship. But we don't really have a crime of moral turpitude in the law in the strictest sense. Like, as you're being sentenced, the judge will say something like, "This is a crime of moral turpitude, so I'm going to sentence you harsher." So that in that sense, it doesn't really exist, as far as I know, at least in the criminal realm that I deal with, misdemeanors and felonies. All right. Does anyone have... Oh, here we go. Zelda has a question. What law or rules do your police officers follow? They are dangerous. I mean, they're still subject to the Constitution, but do they ever follow it? Sometimes. They really are dangerous. Oh, funny. You actually bring it up. I just remembered. By the way, don't forget to like this video, comment below, subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell, and you're more than welcome to join as a member now. We now officially have memberships with their own perks as well. So a body of students discovered that Kentucky State Police troopers, as they were coming in to be trained as cadets, were actually given presentations with quotes from Adolf Hitler. Yeah. Adolf frickin' Hitler was cited. His quotes were cited from Mein Kampf, were cited in in the presentation given to cadets. They were told to be trained as ruthless killers. And let me get you that quote. The quote that they covered from Mein Kampf. Well, let me read you some of the article. I mean, it is bonkers. There was the Manual Red Eye. It's a DuPont Manual High School here in town. Pushes for recruits to be, quote unquote, ruthless killers. Hitler's violent mindset is glorified and quoted in the presentation. This is during their training. A mindset void of emotion is urged upon cadets in the slideshow, as well as a need to meet violence with greater violence. The quotes are written on a slide titled "Violence of Action." Kentucky State Police. Wow. Wow. Mein Kampf, Hitler's 1925 manifesto that is considered the most famous anti-Semitic Nazi publication ever written, is also quoted on that slide. It reads, "The very first essential for success is a perpetually constant and regular employment of violence." I have no words. They cited Mein Kampf in the presentation to incoming Kentucky State Police troopers. The fact that they even cited it at all is already staggering in 2020. The last slide features in bold text, Über alles, a portion of the German national anthem that was removed, which translates directly to above all. A New Yorker article reveals why the term was removed from the anthem, saying many Germans believe the phrase is associated with Nazism. You can make this stuff up. Anyway, that article came out yesterday, and it's absolutely bonkers. Absolutely bonkers. Kentucky State Police Lieutenant Kurt Hall, whose name is used on the presentation, was referred to as teaching a warrior mentality per KSP Captain James Goebel. Goebel's statement was used in a deposition on October 14th, Manuel Red Eye revealed. And I recently learned that Hardin County police force uses I think it's a written policy. An officer testified on the stand in one of my associates' hearings. She said that he testified they have a policy of ask, tell, make. And this is a Hardin County police officer. Ask, tell, make. First, we ask them out of the car. If they don't comply, we tell them to get out of the car. And if they don't comply, they make them get out of the car. I think the third prong should be renamed constitutional violation. Ask, tell, constitutional violation. But that's just me. Who composed the training? Marie, someone internally in the Kentucky State Police bowels. I'm not 100% sure. I think the article may have talked about it, but a subsequent article has been written on this, and I'm sure many more will be written. I'm going to link it here in the chat. And yeah, I practice in Kentucky, James. Always ask for your attorney. Absolutely, James. Tell them you want ask for your attorney, tell them you want an attorney, and then make sure you talk to your attorney. That's fantastic. That's fantastic, James. I love it. Thanks, Sasha. She likes my costume. Or he. I can't tell. Wait, I think I know who it is. It's a he. Is it best to speak to an inquisitive cop or remain silent if you're in fact lying? Joe Bob, I'm going to answer that question on November 28th. So tune in. November 28th is when we're going to be talking about when you should versus when you should not talk to the police. So tune in 4 weeks from today. I work in Indiana. James. I haven't gone further than that. Although something happened last week that was quite interesting. For the first time, I was hired as a consultant on a case by a client out of California who I explained to him, I can't practice law. I can't give him legal advice. I can just give him, my personal opinion, what I think about the case. And he actually hired me to just give him my personal opinion. So I guess when you become an expert in the field, people just want to pick your brain, which I'm more than happy to do. The only problem is I've been getting a lot of these requests, and I respect them. I totally understand. I will usually refer you to somebody else in your local jurisdiction because I can't legally practice law there. I can always pro hac vici, which means it's a fancy word for get a temporary license to practice law just on that one case and nothing more. But the problem with that is, again, it gets very, very expensive. I mean, if you're going to make me fly to Texas to litigate your case once a month, you understand how that's going to stack up, and most people don't want to afford that. They'll just, and there's plenty of lawyers to go around. You don't necessarily need me when you're out of state, out of Kentucky. Absolutely right, Marie. Or Mary. I think I called you called you Mary and Marie. Don't forget, again, to like this video, comment below, subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell if you haven't already. Now you also have the option of joining as a member. So welcome to all of our members. By the way, I just want to call you out by name. Now that we have so few at this point. Oh, we have 5 now. Wow. Megan, Kim, David, Deb, and Richard. Welcome as new members. I'm sure this is only the beginning, but thank you all for being a part of this. Really, really appreciate it. Are there any other questions? We have time for a few more. I'd like to talk about the bar. Oh gosh, this is one of those. Was it started in Britain? Well, actually, let me read how he wrote this. Let's see. I'd like your take. I'd like your take about the bar. Was it started in Britain? Was it started in Britain? I don't know. I don't know what you're talking about. I look gothic, says Tammy. Oh, that's fine. Thank you for putting this up. Absolutely, Zelda. Thank you, David. The British Accredited Registry. I am a British spy. Is that what you're saying? Opinions on prepaid legal services or plans. Totally off topic, Zephiel. Unless you're planning on fighting a speeding ticket, not worth. They're only good for traffic stuff, in my opinion. Ignorance of the law doesn't fly. How come no one can recite every law? Well, it's just the way it works. Ghost in the prison. Wow, that's difficult to read. Yeah, I mean, you have to pass the bar exam to become an attorney, but for some reason they equate with the bar. They turn it into an acronym. These sovereign citizen types. They turn the word bar into BAR, calling it the British Accredited Registry, which makes absolutely no sense. It's a complete fiction, and they've built an entire conspiracy theory on from it. Oh, Kim, that is so sad. A fully grown woman came to trick or treat. I hope you gave her candy. I hope you gave her enough candy. She says she looked homeless. Deaf. Yeah, I'm supposed to be deaf. Here, let me take my hood off. You see, I have like all these cracks in my skull. My ring light is providing all of the lighting. Ooh, that thing was hot. Now I feel like I'm getting some air finally. The ring light makes my face look whiter. I didn't have white to make my face white, but the ring light is really helping. Can an attorney seek nullification of what? Myself? Your Honor, permission to nullify myself as a lawyer. Permission granted. Why not? Why would you ever do that, though? When am I ever going to be on Audit the Audit again? I don't plan on it anytime soon, but if he invites me for something, sure. Oh, good, Kim. good. I hope she got some food and she's happy. Yes, the bar is the profession of a barrister. There you go. Thank you, Mary. Yeah, getting that makeup off is not going to be fun. I think I'm probably gonna have to borrow a makeup remover or something. I think it's already it's already dried up and I can't even like smear it, which is good, which is nice, which is what you want, I guess, and with makeup. But the problem with that is it's also harder to get off. Oh yeah, don't forget to turn your clocks back an hour before you go to bed tonight. Tomorrow is daylight savings time. It's gonna start getting dark at like 5:40. God, ugh. It's the one thing I don't like about winter. Even though winter is my like fall and winter are like my two favorite seasons. I'm an oddball for real. I love summer, but I'm just not as productive in the summertime because of the heat. You want to go outside. You don't want to be sitting in a room working. So that I'm looking forward to winter, even though the days get shorter. Do I watch? Oh, Better Call Saul and Breaking Bad. I love both. I love both shows, Ghost in the Prison. I've watched both shows. I'm all caught up. I can't wait for the final season of Better Call Saul. Is there anything that Jimmy McGill does in the show that you admire? No. I look at him like someone who's on the verge of losing their license every time he does something. The only thing I admire about him, I guess I would say, is his ambition. He's looking for innovative ways of succeeding, but he's breaking the law and ethical rules left and right. I mean, you cannot, no. So I admire his tenacity, I admire his ambition, but his methodology, forget about it. That will cost you your license like the first year out of law school. But I mean, that's the whole point, right? He's that lawyer who, and eventually he does end up, we all know from all the black and white footage that we see that's in the future at every beginning of every season, is the fact that he's going to be working in a Cinnabon place and in a totally different state, unrecognizable, not working as an attorney anymore. I'm not doing blackface, Ms. Jones. Nope. Not happening. What's the difference between a case being dismissed without prejudice versus with prejudice? One, if it's dismissed with prejudice, the case is over, can never be brought back. If it's without prejudice, the prosecution can reinstate charges at a later time. Good night, Deb. Thanks for coming. Who knows all the laws? Nobody. Even if you have a photographic memory, who's going to sit there and just read them? Even if you're a lawyer, you're not going to do that. What trouble can a prosecutor face for mistakenly saying someone is a felon if they are not during court? Bar light broker. I'm not sure if there's any ramification as long as they take it back. If they don't take it back, there may be some consequences, but probably not anything too serious, especially if they have a reason to believe that they are correct. I mean, obviously, if they're just flat out lying, hopefully there's going to be some repercussions. What's the difference between federal and feudal? I think you know the answer to that, Mary. You don't need me for that. Good morning from Australia. Hey, oh, Matthew, you've been here the whole time. Yeah. So do you guys have daylight savings in Australia, Matthew? Okay, so you're already implemented it, I presume. it would be an hour. So there's only an hour less difference between us for the moment, for the next 7 hours, I guess. Well, good for you, Barlight Broker. I guess that's why you were asking. Okay, personal experience. It's 10:40. Okay, well, if there are no other questions on the topic, I'm going to jump off here. We're getting a little bit off topic. But yeah, no, I really appreciate everyone coming today. I'm not going to a party. I'm going back into my little hole and quarantine. Happy Halloween, everyone. Absolutely. Thanks for joining. I hope you all learned something. Like I said, I try to read up on the topic and prepare for it as much as I can. I can't cover all of it, and I'm not as well versed as I would like to be. But I thought it was a really, really fun topic to talk about nonetheless. So I'm glad you all came and joined me on this. We had a much, much smaller audience today. I think the peak was like 80 people compared to 210 last Saturday. So that's okay. That's okay. I think people are celebrating Halloween. It is Saturday. I totally get it. No harm, no foul. Maybe the topic was boring to them. Who knows? I don't know. But yeah, the next topic is going to be next Saturday. And we're going to talk about drug DUI versus alcohol DUI. And that's going to be 6:30 next Saturday, November. I can't believe it's already basically November 7th, Saturday, November 7th, 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'm about to be busy. Yeah, it is Halloween. So I imagine that there's historically, lots of drinkers and drivers on Halloween. But on the flip side, we have the quarantine. So bars are closed, a lot of them at least. And we may not get as much business. I'm just going to go and get this makeup washed off. I don't have anywhere to go to. So, and it is a Saturday. I know this year, didn't we, some of you may have seen this meme. It was like Christmas Day, New Year's Day, fall on a Friday. Halloween falls on a Saturday. Like Valentine's Day falls on a Friday, I think. 4th of July falls on a Saturday. It was just so perfect the entire year. And then coronavirus just destroyed it. Absolutely destroyed it. So sad. I'm already starting to get makeup on my fingers. I need to stop touching my face. So, yeah, that's yesterday. Since Sinister 28, you're absolutely right. Yesterday, everyone is like controlling us with masks. Today, everyone is celebrating putting them on. Ms. Jones, you need to keep it in your pants. You need to keep it in your pants, okay? All right, so this is it. Thank you all for coming. We've been here for a good hour and 45 minutes. I think this is good. We covered the evolution of law. We talked about your questions. We got a lot covered today. So for those of you who maybe have just joined or are watching this on the rerun, feel free to go back and review. It's been fun. It's been real. I always enjoy doing this. And again, I mean, with memberships, it's just so much fun for you guys. You can, those of you who have signed up, by the way, drop an emoji in the chat. Feel free to drop an emoji in the chat so that others can see what emojis. I only have 3 for now. I can only add like 2 more, but I have 10 more emojis in the works. So I'm super excited about that. And I think it's going to be lots and lots of fun for everybody to do this. So we'll be back next Saturday, and we'll be doing this again, talking about drug DUI, excuse me, versus alcohol DUI, and the comparison and contrasting between them. There you go. Those are the emojis that are currently available. Some of them I don't even know if you can really see, but that first one I need to change that one. I don't really like it. It seems a little odd. But anyway, the other two emojis seem to be doing okay. Again, thank you all for joining, the new subscribers, the new members. Thank you for doing both, for joining and subscribing. Don't forget to like this video, comment below, subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell, and if you're so inclined, feel free to join the DUI Guy crew to become either a law novice or an honorary lawyer, the two-tier system. You get your badge, you get emojis, you get meme-only perks, and if you are an honorary lawyer on the tier 2, you get a chance to see a preview once we go back into court. You'll probably get a first look into what courtrooms are going to look like firsthand from me when that all goes live, if you're on the tier 2. So if you're not either, that's fine too. Both are going to remain the same. So thank you all. Happy Halloween. And please be safe. Don't drink and drive. And I will see you all next Saturday. Ha 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 ha.